So there's one particular subscriber who is possibly obsessed with Riding with Tom's 636, wants to know what I think of it. And obviously I got a ride of it the other day, which was a bit of fun, I think mainly because Tom wanted to ride the super motard. He didn't have the best riding conditions to really enjoy it to its potential, but he got a spin of it. I'm sure he'll post something up at some point if he hasn't already. Yeah, so what do I think of the 636? Well, I mean, it's a great bike. I think it's this any of those sort of 600 supersports, CBR 600, Ninja 636, Suzuki GSX-R 600. They're all a great step up from your learner approved bike, 250s, 300s, 500 lambs bikes, and yeah, you know, they ride very well. They've got heaps of grunt, and I say heaps of grunt with a bit of a disclaimer. Yeah, and they go really well, and they ride really well. Now, the 636 in particular was very nimble bike. It really felt like it wants to go around corners. Very easy to control in corners. Yeah, it's a really nice bike, and it would be a great step up from a learner approved bike. Now, why I say that it's got heaps of power with a bit of a disclaimer is because there's I guess a percentage of the population who are going to be completely happy with that amount of grunt and performance, acceleration, and some that are going to get used to it. I had the throttle completely pinned, you know, on that short ride, I had the throttle completely pinned quite a few times, just fully wide open throttle and going, oh yeah, it's accelerating pretty well. Now if you compare that to some of the more modern leader bikes, you have them pinned and you go, holy shit, you know. I guess it's a matter of perception, you know. What have you been riding before? You know, what are you used to? Yeah, I think, you know, if you take one of these bikes to the racetrack, then you know you do awesomely well around the corners, and then you come onto the straight and you open the throttle and you go, come on. I mean, I guess to an extent you still do that with a leader bike. There's not many leader bikes where in fact I don't think there's, I'm sure there's none, that in, you know, 4th, 5th, 6th gear you open the throttle fully and you're wheel standing. Now I guess people will say, well, you can make it wheel stand in 4th gear or 5th gear. Yeah, I'm sure you can make it, but if you're trying to go fast, yeah, it won't wheel stand in top gear or in any of the upper half of the gears. But certainly at you know, in 2nd and 3rd on the leader bike, you know, you wrap on the throttle and the front wheel just starts climbing uncontrollably. You have to regulate the throttle. You have to have a throttle controlled hand, a hand that can control the throttle. On a 600 you can wind it fully open. It won't start lifting the front wheel until, you know, very high up in the RPMs. So, and that makes them, you know, quite fairly easy to ride. So yeah, that's why I'd say that they're a great step up from a learner's bike, because they're not uncontrollable. Yeah, and then, you know, when you get a few years of experience on that, then, you know, then you can worry about, okay, now I'll step up to something where I actually have to think about how much throttle I'm giving it, because otherwise I'll crash or I'll flip over backwards. Yeah. So that's what I think of Tom's bike. I think it's an awesome bike, but I would say any bike in that class is going to be pretty damn good. Yeah, so I'd say, you know, if you're looking at that type of bike, go for it. So there's a lot of people who say that they've got enough control in their right wrist to not go crazy on a leader bike. They go straight from a 250 to a leader bike, and some people can do that. That's fine, but not everyone can do that. And it's definitely a safer way to go from a 250 to a 600 or something like that. Yeah, just for the sake of learning and progression and moving up through different types of bikes, gaining those skills. Obviously it's probably cheaper just to buy a leader bike and then control yourself and then have it forever, but there's not too often that people keep their motorbikes forever anyway. They do seem to have more of a shorter lifespan than cars.